8 billion people vanished overnight. But only leaving behind this man who stays up until 2:30 a.m. to complete his assignment. He looks at the empty classroom and cafeteria. The man thought he had remembered the holiday time wrong and happily prepared to go home. However, he found all the streets unusually quiet. He couldn't even wait half a day for a bus to take him home. The confused man ended up walking for 2 hours before finally arriving home. Just as he entered the door, the man was shocked and froze in place. The clock on the wall was surprisingly stuck at 2:45. He distinctly remembered leaving school around 2:45 as well. The man, who had just noticed something was amiss, glanced at his phone to verify the time, and it was still 2:45. Could it be that time had stopped in the entire world? The next second, a golden light suddenly appeared at the window. A winged girl suddenly appeared out of nowhere. She turned out to be the messenger of God, just as Litany and the man had guessed. The time in the whole world stopped. Except for him. The current Earth experience value is full and needs to be upgraded to the next first-ranked segment. During the process of opening up magic on Earth, some invulnerable monsters will appear. For safety reasons, God temporarily pauses time. Then God moved all humans to another space to train them to start using magic so they could adapt to the monsters on Earth. As for why men were left on Earth, it is entirely because the male lead's presence is too low, so much so that even God did not realize he was left behind. Men really can't believe that such attributes will accompany them throughout their lives. He was forgotten at the bus station during an elementary school outing, left behind when everyone boarded the bus during a high school training, and even in college, he was the last one to know when classes were canceled. And now, with everyone on the entire planet gone, he is the only one left. The bizarre scenario made it really hard for him to accept. He insisted on leaving together and learning magic, even if it meant throwing a tantrum. But now the portal has long been closed. He can only wait until the day when all humans return 10 years later. In order to cope with the invasion of monsters after the big update, men can only continue to strengthen themselves physically. The training day after day has also brought about significant changes in the man's physique. Even the angels are attracted by the man's pert buttocks. Although she only comes to see him once a week. But the dietary care during this period is still quite thoughtful. The man even feels that the angel's cooking is better than his own mother's. This also prevents time from becoming too boring. He has a solid foundation of a healthy body. But he won't be able to handle the monster without decent attack skills. Fortunately, even though time has been paused, the data on the internet can still be extracted. Currently, he can only self-learn some martial arts moves through videos. To speed up the progress, the angel suggested that he himself act as the man's sparring partner. After all, punches and kicks have no eyes. It wouldn't be good if I hurt you. The next second, a punch came straight towards the angel's face. However, the angel simply threw a punch, sending the man flying into the sky. The companionship of Litany made the past 10 years pass by without the expected hardship. Although there was still some pain during the process. But fortunately, he finally waited for this day. The man dressed grandly in preparation to welcome the return of all humanity. The angel has also completed her mission and is about to leave. Not easy, 10 years. The man closes his eyes and waits quietly like this. Until 10 minutes have passed, 20 minutes. The man realized that something seemed a little off. And the angel flying in the air also sensed something. The next second, the angel who returned to the man's side looked innocent and said, "Maybe there was a problem somewhere, perhaps, in the past 20 years. The man lifts weights 10,000 times every day. Just because he is the most insignificant person in the world, the Earth, which is full of energy, is about to undergo an evolutionary upgrade. Everyone has been transported to a safe alternate world by God. And he was the only one left behind. His amazing, invisible man, talent is so incredible that even God couldn't find him. To prepare for the invasion of monsters that will come along with the return of humans in 10 years. Men have to strengthen their bodies to prepare for battle. Although there was the companionship of the angel Litany during the tedious waiting process. But the man couldn't realize any of his own ideas on her. However, on the long-awaited final day, the return of humanity did not come as expected. The disorder of the timeline made the arrival of this day seem far off. 10 years, 20 years, and even 50 years have passed, yet this world still has not seen any changes. The only difference is that the man has become strong enough. The years of tempering, however, have gradually blurred his memory of his mother. Watching the lonely figure of the man, Litany felt helpless and upset inside. As the stick in his hand smashed into the ground, the man finally expressed his weariness of life. This made Litany's heart tighten. Is it despair? Is it giving up? Although she also had no reasons to persuade him. But the task entrusted by God is to ensure the man survives. Do you want to go see a book together? That's great. The man has not given up yet. Even when facing an unknown future, he is still a positive and passionate man. Since that day, the man entered the school library that he had never been to before. Both cultural and fiction books have become tools for him to pass the time. During this time, he traveled the world with the company of Litany. The long time passed. As the last page falls, there are no more books in the world that men can read. Litany is still worried about what men can do after the concern. He seems to have become more spirited during this process, even asking what else Litany can prepare to deal with future major updates. Even though he has been alone for centuries, he still steadfastly believes in the return of humanity in the future. Even the angel Litany is touched by his persistence, sincerely praying to God to let humanity return before the man collapses. With a vast amount of theoretical knowledge as support, practice is particularly important. The huge wild boar, the man can effortlessly drag it. He even prepared various dissecting tools for it meticulously. Suddenly the man had a bold idea. What if all the animals were killed? Would the monster still appear? If you want to hunt, you can kill as many as you want. At most, it will just cause ecological imbalance. As for the monsters, they're originally. Suddenly realizing the wrong Litany, he quickly covered his mouth. The man who was focused on slaughtering seemed to have not noticed anything unusual with Litany. He was only focused on practicing his dissection skills. And the man's inexplicable enthusiasm always enables him to immediately find another thing that interests him after completing one thing. After completing the last dissection of a sperm whale, the man had thoroughly mastered the skill of anatomy, and immediately plunged into practicing forging weapons. Even Litany couldn't help but complain. How can a man who could only live for 100 years accomplish so much in 300 years? And men seem to have no talent in forging. It wasn't until 5 years later that he crafted his first ordinary sword. His hard work was also taken away by Litany. The angel forcibly preserved it as a souvenir and enchanted it, so it won't disappear even after the major update. Starting from a dagger to a sword, a spear, an axe, gradually, the weapons he crafted became more and more successful. Until 100 years later, a dazzling long spear emerged. Even the Litany said that this is the most powerful weapon she has ever seen. But after the major update with the emergence of even tougher materials, these weapons became useless. Then I'll just forge them again. The man's usual optimism made Litany feel comforted as well. The man, who currently had no other plans for the day, was practicing the martial arts moves he used to know. And the man's efforts caused a change in Litany's heart. In the years of living together day and night, she was happy for him and worried about him. The complex emotions have finally transformed into affection for the man at this moment. Unconsciously, Litany has even thought of the names for their future children. Litany's unusual behavior has also caught the man's attention. But of course, she acted as if nothing had happened. However, the next moment, the sword she wore changed. The sword, now an accessory of Litany, flew straight up into the sky. In a panic, Litany could only follow closely behind. At the same time, strange things happened. The man's clothes unexpectedly reverted to their appearance before time froze, and Litany, who finally grabbed the long sword, discovered cracks emerging from the ground beneath their feet. The great renewal of the earth has begun. 80 billion people disappeared overnight. But only one man and one woman were left to rely on each other. He was a man forgotten by God. What could he do before the earth's great renewal arrived? There was only one thing he could do, to keep strengthening himself. Even though the long years had worn away his memory of his mother. But he never wavered in his belief in the return of all humankind. And she, the angel personally appointed by God, Litany. Her mission is to ensure that men survive smoothly before the return of humanity, but the timeline disturbance has made the 10-year covenant of human return seem far off. The tedious wait can only be endured with true love to withstand the long years. In the companionship of 1,000 years, the two have long held affection for each other. But what no one had ever expected was the sudden arrival of a great change, so unexpected that there wasn't even a chance for a proper farewell. He could only watch as the litany in the sky turned into a smaller and smaller dot. If I can survive afterwards, will there be a chance to meet again? At the same time, the traffic light on the roadside resumed its blinking. After a burst of starlight, the bus stop was crowded with people again. Everyone returned to the state they were in 1,000 years ago, as if none of this had ever happened, until the man in the crowd opened his eyes. He then realized that there was a system panel in front of him. Lu Han, human, no class active skill, stealth, passive skill, unable to estimate. Due to falling behind, he received extra bonuses. Every time he leveled up, he could get 5 skill points. Just as Litany said, every returning human can now view their own status. It sounds like their data has all been initialized. And it seems like everyone except themselves has indeed only experienced 10 years. However, the man quickly discovered that something was wrong. That's because in this crowded crowd, not a single person noticed his existence. Could it be because of this so-called stealth skill? But how do you turn it off? The unfortunate man was completely speechless by this bug. Is it because of the return of the Earthlings again? Did he not coordinate with everyone else? Since the fact cannot be changed, let nature take its course. But he can see the streets full of people again. That is enough to make the man who has endured 1,000 years of loneliness feel content. Under the setting sun. This time he finally got back home, not at 2:45 a.m. anymore. A familiar call made the man's heart tremble. It was his mother. The long-forgotten memory gradually became clearer at this moment, the scent of life simmering on the stove. The father reading the newspaper at the dining table. Everything returned to the way it used to be, but the next moment, reality harshly awakened Lu Han, who was immersed in beautiful illusions. After returning, the conversations between parents always revolve around things from another world. But he couldn't join their conversation at all. At the same time, he realized that everyone had been sent to different places. So much so that even Mom was curious about where the man had gone and what interesting experiences he had. This made Lu Han break out in a cold sweat at the moment. Of course, he could not tell his parents that he had been still on Earth all along, even traveled the world with an angel. These absurd things. So he made full use of his intelligence and cleverness. He finally came up with a nameless place, and his mother surprisingly believed it. Because compared to this, she is actually more regretful about herself. She regrets that she couldn't handle magic well. She heard that those who are good at magic can easily make a lot of money. This really makes me happy just thinking about it. And this once again touches on Lu Han's sore spot. Because he doesn't know how to do magic at all. But the expected surprise did not appear on the faces of the parents. It turns out that even with continuous exposure to magic over a period of 10 years, not everyone can learn it. But none of this really matters to Lu Han. He only cares about the peace that can return to his world. Inside the bedroom, Lu Han is puzzled by what is in front of him. The long spear, which was thought to disappear with the resetting of time, inexplicably appeared in his room. However, this saved Lu Han from having to search for weapons to deal with the future beast wave. But the next second, a system pop-up appeared, revealing that Lu Han's steel spear had an attack power of 800. A miracle created without the use of magic. Its strength and toughness made it feel like it was made from the bones of a mid-level monster. But Lu Han had no concept of the so-called 800 attack power. At the moment, he just wanted to quickly understand what kind of existence that different world really was. Due to the return of humans, a large amount of information about the different world has already started to emerge on the internet. What Lu Han wants to understand first is the relationship between human combat levels and monsters. Originally, level 5 status is basically equivalent to that of an ordinary person. However, level 7 is the minimum standard to qualify as a soldier. It's not until level 10 that people can master some sword art and shooting skills. Upon reaching level 50, you can undergo the first evolution to become a strong second-rank practitioner. Becoming a third-rank practitioner, which requires level 100, is a unique existence that very few in the entire country can achieve. But after reaching level 100, each level up becomes exponentially difficult, and becoming a fourth-rank practitioner is unprecedented in its hell-level difficulty. People speculate that at that stage, one can hardly be considered human anymore, perhaps resembling a demonic existence. All information stops here. The man couldn't help feeling a sigh of emotion, realizing that mankind still has a long way to go. I wonder how Litany is doing now. Litany would probably be pleased that you miss her. The sudden voice made the man instantly alert. There is an intruder. I am an angel. Yelta is here to help you learn magic. Looking towards the window following the sound, Lu Han realized. A can-sized little person was standing there. What the heck? Is this a tiny angel? The man kills 1,000 pigs every day. He feels not a bit of pain simply because he is not a pig. After the major update, everything is returned to square one. Only that everyone has gained experience in using magic, while the man only has his invisible man physique. This skill has become even more intensified to the point of being an unclosable skill. Apart from his parents, it seems that no one around him notices his presence. The steel spear that inexplicably appeared in the bedroom made him feel that things were not so simple. Until the appearance of the mini-angel Yelta. The mist shrouding the earth was gradually being lifted, revealing that there was once a group of terrifying monsters on the planet. And the dungeon is the trap prepared by God for them. First, God carefully prepared some delicious food in the trap. When the monsters are attracted inside, he cleverly closes the door immediately. Unlike the restricted monsters, humans can come and go freely after reaching a certain level. This is the origin of dungeons nowadays. However, after the great renewal of the earth, these barriers will gradually disappear. At that time, the monsters will begin to invade the human world frantically. So you need to quickly master the ability to kill monsters before that happens. Men are feeling emotional, but there is something that is making him particularly distressed at the moment. That is the angel Yelta. She claims to have been sent to guide him in the use of magic. She was actually satisfying her own curiosity. She doesn't give the man any personal space at all. But even so, the man can bear with it. The only thing that makes him feel both angry and upset. He has treasured 1.7 terabytes of study materials, but now there is simply no chance to savor them at all. And this kind of days unexpectedly have to continue for another year. Why is the gap between angels so significant? Men now realize how beautiful the days were when they were together with Litany. It's a pity that at that time, I was only obsessed with slaughtering pigs and didn't cherish it properly. The next day, the man who has lived for 1,000 years returned to the campus for the first time. But Yelta, who insists on doing everything together, is annoying the man with the shaking in his head. The sudden slogan scared the man even more. It turns out the government has prepared the military to deal with the upcoming beast wave. Men don't know if this is useful at all. Just as Litany once said, high-level monsters cannot be defeated by any power other than magic. The man who came to the classroom the next second really remained as invisible as ever in everyone's eyes. However, The useless skill that he least wanted seemed to not be as bad as he thought. According to Yelta, any amount of magic and a small amount of combat experience can achieve the effect of attacking skills. For someone like her, a high-level creature, even if the skills of all the people in the classroom are combined, they are not as good as the man's invisibility skill. Hearing this, the man just looks mysterious and impressive. But he soon discovered the benefits of being invisible. That is, he could openly eavesdrop on others. They seemed to be discussing a girl who may be from their own school. And she also dominated the alien world for the past decade, known as the existence called Empress. At this point, the man was even more unclear as to why he had to pay high tuition fees while spending time here listening to useless knowledge. Is it true that in a future full of monsters, is a diploma more useful than learning magic on a piece of paper? The most effective way to train magic is through actual combat. Yelta, who can read men's minds, responded directly. And in the early stages of a big update, monsters are very weak. He needs to take this opportunity to quickly accumulate experience and improve his magic. But how can a level 1 man dare to face monsters head-on like that? But you have a very strong body. Although earlier Litany kept emphasizing that you are a poor person who cannot do magic. But after I arrived here, I discovered that this is not the case. Your physical strength is very high. Even in your current state, you can easily defeat a level 25 monster. Level 25. This is something a man wouldn't have expected. He quickly asked Yelta again for confirmation. Yelta, who was originally talking non-stop, suddenly fell silent. The next second, the whole classroom became noisy instead. Everyone ran towards the window. And the man who caught up realized this. The world outside the window had already been overrun by various giant insects. The invasion has begun. The man studies for 25 hours every day. Only because he is the only hope for mankind. A fool god thought he had used a clever trick. He locked all the demons in a trap called dungeon, but he never expected that the vibrant earth is about to usher in an evolution upgrade. At that time, all energy barriers will be completely disabled. And the earth will also become the only exit for these monsters. Just now, a group of monsters launched an invasion on the campus. The huge insects immediately caused a panic among the crowd. Although there were some courageous warriors who dared to challenge them. But everyone watched helplessly as the person who had just rushed out was directly game over. Everyone then realized that this was something they couldn't handle on their own. The next second, everyone had a terrified expression and fled in all directions. In just an instant, the spacious classroom was left with only the male lead. Is he being left behind again? Although it's already commonplace, it's still a bit speechless. And the man had no intention of running away because these insects in his eyes. And it's similar to the sperm whale he had been using as a practice target for 1,000 years, relying on his years of honed crafting skills. He quickly succeeded in using the table legs to make a handy weapon. Even Yelta couldn't help but praise the man's craftsmanship. But in her heart, she was complaining about Litany, saying, "How can this be the little helpless one you described who knows nothing?" Just as the man was getting ready, he discovered a serious issue. Even if my presence is very low-key, it's still hard for others not to notice me on my battlefield. Is this a problem? Shortly after, a masked man descended from the sky. The large feet in size 42 directly crushed the head of a praying mantis. Subsequently, there were continuous system prompts. Obtained 800 experience points. Level increased to level 3. 4-dimensional attributes increased. Physical skill level has reached the limit. Material needed for advancement. Also gained a level 13 record of killing a giant mantis. It's indeed quite surprising to level up so quickly. But what made him even happier was that he finally felt the increase in magical power, even though it was just a tiny bit. Are you already enjoying the thrill of killing so quickly? The sarcasm of Yelta makes men really want to find a chance to fix her. But now is not the time to relax. Several larger ants have unknowingly reached behind the man. This made the man rediscover the long-lost training direction. That is, he has never honed his ability to challenge the group. The powerful swing he made almost exceeded the naked eye's ability to capture. He pierced one of them directly, and the huge insect instantly split into pieces. How to deal with the situation on the ground is easily solvable. But what about the situation in the sky? Although a man can directly jump several meters high and kill a mosquito. But the opponents are numerous after all. A mosquito that attacked from behind directly pinned the man to the ground. Yelta didn't even have time to warn the man before he was. What? The mosquito's sting didn't cause any harm to the man. This shows that men's physical fitness is no longer just strong. He has already surpassed the limitations of mankind. 1, 2, 3. The more men fight bravely, the more they gain. But they never expected that dozens of monsters would gather around them at some point, surrounding the men in a circle. Just as the men were at a loss for what to do, a thunder spell suddenly descended from the sky and instantly defeated all of them. The monsters turned into black charcoal. The dazzling light was so bright that even the man couldn't open his eyes. And as the light faded, standing in the distance, was a woman wearing a mask. Is it Empress? Even though her face can't be seen. But the first name that comes to a man's mind is this. And the government troops arrived just in time, coming late as always. They showed up after the fighting was over. They sure know how to pick their moments. At the same time, they also found a creepy man digging for something. It turns out the man was trying to find something similar to soul bone/soul orb. It wasn't until Yelta informed them that they realized they needed to dissect their bodies in order to gain something. This was nothing to him, who had killed a wild boar for 1,000 years. Hard work pays off. The ordinary little stone turned out to be the essential material for all strengthening and advancement. Just as the man was delighted, he suddenly realized something was wrong. Why was everyone taking photos of him with their phones? The man was flustered and didn't know what to do for a moment. But when he turned his head, he found. Oh! Could it be that they were taking photos of her instead? The powerful impact not only did not pierce through the man's body, but instead caused themselves to be broken. And this turned out to be the mouth part of a giant mosquito. On the second day after human return, the first wave of beast invasion arrived. People who have undergone 10 years of training in the magic realm all fled in panic. But only this man, who does not know magic, stepped forward. The man who was forgotten on Earth at the beginning has had over 1,000 years to build his body due to the distortion of the timeline. And by now, the strength of his body has already surpassed the scope of humanity. But the numerical advantage of the monsters still left the man in a predicament, and just then, the rumored Empress suddenly appeared. The powerful magic instantly eliminated all the remaining monsters. On the second day after humans returned, they were able to proficiently control magic once again. Her strength greatly impressed the man and made him even more eager for magic. But he only has some basic life skills himself. All he can do is to do his best in those long years and make the most of what he can. But it is also thanks to his dissecting skills that turned the remains of the monsters in this land into treasures. Under the guidance of the angel Yelta, it is possible to harvest magic stones by dismembering these corpses. And this also caught the attention of the Empress. After a friendly conversation, the two of them ultimately decided to split the wealth 50-50 and swallow it together. With a large gem cradled in Empress's palm, their first collaboration was officially sealed. In the late night, the park at the bottom of the neighborhood was already empty, with only the man looking at the spoils all over the ground but unsure of how to use them. The tough monster shells, however, would make excellent armor material. It's just that handling these materials is very difficult. Without an excellent master blacksmith, it's impossible to complete. But Yelta's doubts completely hit the man's gun. In this respect, as long as he makes a move, it is already the limit of this industry. This is really completely different from what Litany said. Moreover, how could someone persist in something for hundreds of years? He just couldn't stand the man's smug Yelta and pretended to be profound, saying, "You don't know about using magic to forge things, do you?" The fresh feeling of never having heard of it before instantly piqued the man's interest. Now Yelta is even more pleased. But she did not expect the man to squeeze her directly in his hand, begging her frantically to tell him. Under a mix of embarrassment and indignation, Yelta quickly agreed to him. The man then awkwardly expressed his apologies. So it turns out that magic stone can enhance weapons and equipment to a certain extent, and blacksmiths control the magic to infuse it with their own will. He can make the equipment gain some properties of special materials. For example, a sword that can spout flames, a bow that shoots ice projectiles, or a shield that can restore health when blocking attacks. And all of these will depend on the skills of the forgers. Magic stones at this point can only play a supporting role at most. Now the man himself hasn't figured out what kind of equipment to create. Anyway, he should start by making the parts that have already been clarified. Soon, a pair of wrist guards and a chest plate were made by the skillful man. Then grind the magic stone into powder, as Yelta suggested. Finally, sprinkle an appropriate amount on the surface of the equipment. Everything seems unusually smooth, to the point where even the man is a little dazed. Yelta, although unwilling, had to admit that the man was indeed very talented. But what to do with the remaining bit of magic stone material? Looking at the materials spread out on the ground, the man quickly came up with an idea. The so-called will of the forger should be similar to the idea of constructing equipment, right? As long as the idea is detailed enough, this mantis leg that looks like a sickle can be used in that way. As the light in the palm of the hand shines brighter and brighter, Yelta just realized that he wants to directly enchant it, right? But he can't control magic at all. If this continues, it will be out of control, Yelta whispered to himself after realizing it. With the shattering of the last magic stone, the man was engulfed in a white light. The gray wolf, with 1,000 years of cultivation, was unexpectedly knocked down by the man with a single punch. But he is a muggle with no magic power at all. Just last night, an inexperienced man tried forging enchanted equipment for the first time. But the out-of-control magic made the situation dangerous. Fortunately, Yelta's timely intervention pulled the man back from the brink of life and death. After a dazzling white light, a wrist guard shimmering with a green glow appeared prominently. The man's reckless action surprisingly left Yelta in disbelief at his success. And the man finally reached level 2 of magical power after successfully enchanting, merging the ability of the mantis blade into his wrist guard. He just raised his hand gently and waved it. The hanging metal chain suddenly shattered into pieces. Yelta never expected to fuse the attribute of attack into armor. What surprised her even more was that the man ran off the next second. Just because he just smashed the community's public facilities. If it is discovered, it will be troublesome. But the man did not think about it. Doesn't the angel even have basic restoration capabilities? The next morning, the TV was still broadcasting the news from the school yesterday. At the same time, the government is also vigorously searching for 2 masked heroes to assemble a team with superpowers to combat the monsters. Meanwhile, the worried mother suggested that her son should not go to school. But if he stays at home all the time, the man won't be able to do anything. The man is still thinking about the Empress he met yesterday. Just because her skillful control of magic is really powerful. But Yelta thinks that this is nothing special. Why else would God send humans to learn magic? But this once again stung the man forgotten by God. But Yelta didn't say that out loud. The man was able to do it without using magic. He was able to successfully decompose and process those monster remains. This is the most incredible thing. And at that moment, Yelta's expression suddenly became serious. In her perception, a group of about 70 wolves suddenly appeared nearby, with the most crucial point being that at the head of the group was a level 35 wolf. This number and level directly startled the man. because this is completely inconsistent with what she described as the early stages of the disaster, which were all low-level monsters. Actually, Yelta also finds this very strange. Not only that, but the appearance of the beast wave on the second day of the major update that started just yesterday is already very different from the past situations. Why didn't you mention it yesterday? And you seem very calm. That's because I don't need to share my worries with inferior beings. This really makes the man go emo. After all, the other party is an angel, and I couldn't refute anything. But the two angels seem to have completely different personalities. Yelta seems to be a Tsundere rich girl, who always draws a clear boundary in her interactions with others. Litany is different. Although a bit silly, sometimes she acts like a warm and cheerful older sister. The man imagined without reservation, completely forgetting about Yelta's telepathic ability. However, Yelta also felt that she had been a bit too cold-hearted at this point. She finally revealed the truth to the man. Actually, Earth at this moment is not normal. To welcome the great update, God will transport all humans to learn magic. But no attention was paid to other species on Earth, because God thought they should be able to take care of themselves well. Besides, it was only a total of 10 years. However, due to an unknown error, the distortion of time on Earth occurred, turning 10 years in other worlds into 1,000 years on Earth. So all creatures on Earth, just like humans, have experienced 1,000 years of growth and evolution. Men at this moment are not facing dungeon monsters fundamentally, but the animals that have always been living alongside humans. At the same time, a bigger trouble has emerged. That is, God and other angels are working to restore order on Earth. This also means that all previous problems must be resolved by men. With a graceful jump, the man launched the attack, instantly shattering the wolf pack with tremendous impact. Amid the continuous system prompts, the man quickly leveled up to level 9. I can't understand the following actions of the man. Are you a pervert? Why do you keep messing with its body? And just as the man was explaining, two other wolves with fierce eyes and sharp teeth bared lunged at the man. I saw the man turn around and unleash a move called Cloud Broken Dragon. He instantly took it away. The wolf pack that finally reacted also turned direction at this moment. All neat and orderly, they all ran towards the same target. But the strength of the man still exceeded their imagination. The alpha male, who gave orders, became the man's primary target. The powerful function of the wrist guard is just being tested on the wolf's head. The pack of wolves, without a leader, was even more defeated by the men, retreating step by step until they noticed the sudden exclamation from the crowd. He then discovered that an overlooked wolf was actually stepping on a human. At the same time, it was glaring ferociously at the man in the distance. What's going on here? Have animals already learned to take hostages? He is an over 1,000-year-old old man. He can kill 70 big bad wolves barehanded. This makes it so that even if a girl offers 30 million to submit, she has to offer her body. However, the reasonable man decisively chose to take the money and leave. However, he faced the girl's relentless demands. The man could only pull out a mysterious red button. After a strong flash of light, the man and the money box disappeared instantly from the place. Actually, the man was right beside them, but they couldn't see him. It turns out that as long as people lose focus on the man for more than 3 seconds, they can no longer see him. In this repeated sudden disappearance, he has become known as the fastest man in people's mouths. And at the moment, the man just wants to quickly make this choice in front of him. It turns out that just after killing a large number of giant wolves, his level unexpectedly remained at level 10, and it was not until he opened the system panel that he discovered a total of 23 options. The man who didn't know where to start could only throw a pleading look at Yelta for help. The number of options depends on the type and quantity of monster killed previously. If there is enough time, there can be 30 or even 40 choices. Her suggestion is to choose Lancelot with long spear, or become a grafter using boxing gloves. This also aligns with your training direction all along. And as your level increases, you can still obtain more in the future. Second or even third vice class. This is something that men simply don't know. He has browsed all relevant information, but has never come across this kind of information. What useful things can there be online? It's just a waste of your life. It's obvious that Ielta must have had some bad experiences online. And for the choice of class men, Ielta's recommendation is very approving. In addition to being suitable for oneself, the key is that this class can choose some powerful weapons to further enhance oneself. Just as he was about to press confirm, the system once again sent a new message. Just at this moment, another new option was added. Its name seems to be Bloodline Lancelot. Quickly selected. This is a variant class. I can't believe you obtained a hidden class in the first rank segment. But the man just looks confused. He has no idea what's going on. And the so-called variant class is based on past combat experience and monster records. A class specially designed for you is born. So you must choose it no matter what. The man then decisively pressed the 24th class button, followed by a series of system prompt sounds for attribute improvements and level upgrades. But gradually, the man realized something was wrong. Until he confirmed the information on his panel again. Only then did he realize that he was now actually a class called Dazed Spearman. So there is actually no Bloodline Lancelot. Is it Blood Disease Lancelot, then? This time Ielta had no defense at all. Even she just read it as Bloodline Lancelot. After all, the appearance of the hidden class is really exciting. At that moment, a dazzling light came from behind, and a strong energy wave emerged around the body. The man's body unexpectedly began to strengthen and upgrade. Soon, a diamond-like sturdy body had been completely integrated. The powerful sensation brought by the transformation still surprised the man. But when he looked at his system panel again, the expected thing did not happen. He was still called Dazed Spearman, which made the man extremely frustrated. More importantly, this time the man still did not receive any active skills. From the man's expression, it can be seen that this is as uncomfortable for him as eating shit. Such a situation is so rare that even Ielta finds it very unusual. However, this may be good news for the future second rank. Because the skill vacancy in the first 2 rounds may lead to a very powerful skill appearing in the 3rd round. And at the moment, this may be the only way she can comfort a man. The man threw the box filled with 30 million on the roadside. But only to fight with the village boy at the head of the village for a basket of free eggs. The unexpected hidden class turned out not as powerful as the man had imagined. Not even able to provide active skills. This has made the man's situation very dangerous. He must seize the time to gain more experience. He can unlock powerful skills that may appear in the 3rd rank design. According to the hotly discussed topics on the internet, men soon found a direction. But this time, the opponent is unexpectedly strong, which the men did not anticipate. The nearly 30-meter height indicates that this is a brown bear of 2nd rank or above. According to Ielta's explanation, it was only then that I realized this is actually a level 45 monster. The military, which arrived first, exhausted all firepower, but couldn't inflict even the slightest damage on it. The military could only watch helplessly, as the monster wreaked havoc on the city. But they were powerless, and had no way to deal with it. And it wasn't until the man showed up that they saw a glimmer of hope. Rumored to be as fast as Bolt, the man wielded his spear, and stabbed straight towards the giant bear. And the man who could maintain invisibility until the first attack. This made the giant bear feel the danger, but still unable to detect anything coming closer. The furious grizzly bear tried to disperse the lingering sense of danger on the spot. But it was still hit by the attack that was stacked with a bonus from the man. Direct hit on the head. Looking at the slightly leaning brown bear, everyone was about to cheer. The next second, the motionless giant bear slowly turned its head back. It finally discovered the source of danger. Seeing that the situation was not good, the man immediately roared angrily for everyone to leave quickly. Just as the words were spoken, a huge bear paw suddenly landed in front. The crowd, who just reacted to the situation, finally began to scatter and flee, while the man's task at this moment was to divert the brown bear's attention. He faced the attack from the giant bear. After the man agilely dodged to evade. Immediately, he gathered strength and thrust a spear to strike back at the huge bear paw. But this time, his full-powered strike did not cause any harm to it at all. Do I have to use that move? The body, upgraded and strengthened now, is indeed almost as powerful as it was back then. Just don't know if this spear can withstand it. When the man was being trained by Litany, she once told him that he must concentrate all his strength on one point. However, the man earnestly warned that someone could get hurt this way. Litany still insisted on letting the man strike her directly like this. Since that's the case, the man also decided not to show mercy anymore, as he leaped up vigorously and swung out this fierce punch. Sure enough, something went wrong, only to see the man already lying on the ground in pain. But this brought Litany's gentle comfort, and the man felt it was worth it. Of course, in addition to this, the man also successfully cut off one of Litany's hair for the first time. You should know that facing a god-level angel, even just injuring one of her hairs is already a remarkable display of power. So currently facing this second-rank level 45 monster, will it be able to withstand a blow recognized even by Litany? With a spatter of blood, the giant bear's head, the enormous body crashed down. This time the brown bear never stood up again, and the dead brown bear started to slowly shrink back to its normal size, so it actually used some kind of enlarging skill. But this did not diminish the man's desire to dissect it in the slightest. At the same time, a black sedan quickly stopped beside the man, as the door opened slowly. The man then found himself speechless. 5 people were actually squeezed inside such a small car, and they are the 5 ability users who came to rescue. Originally, I thought sending 5 people to deal with a second-rank small monster was a boring thing. However, it was learned from the soldiers that the monster had been single-handedly dealt with by a man before they arrived. This did come as a bit of a surprise to them, as it's not every day that one person can resolve a battle so quickly. His strength is definitely not weak at all. He is equivalent to an entire army by himself. But he is actually a social phobic man who is afraid of interacting with people. A man who should have been ignored was seen by others because of the brown bear's body. The man with social anxiety did not want to respond to any greetings from others at all. How he wished his invisibility skill could come in handy at this moment. However, the man's indifference and dismissiveness only made the other party extremely angry. Fortunately, his companion held him back, preventing the conflict from escalating. Since the issue here has been resolved, everyone should hurry to the next battlefield. When everyone was about to leave, the man named Eugene came up and exchanged greetings with the man in the mask again. The man was unsure whether to shake hands in response to the friendly gesture, but Eugene didn't seem to mind and just started talking to himself. You'd better remember my name, because sooner or later, I will surpass you. What will you do after surpassing me? The man's sudden question caught Eugene off guard. In today's world, power is everything. Whoever has the strongest power will be remembered by this world. And it's not just you. One day, I will surpass all of you. A passionate speech can indeed captivate men and leave them somewhat bewildered. Because he couldn't imagine that it would be such a boring reason, just to prove himself by surpassing others? Why do you need an opponent? Can't you grow without others? Is the meaning of becoming stronger just to be better than others? You simply lack the courage to grow on your own. To truly become stronger, all you need is to constantly train in battle, rather than spreading this pressure to others. You can't even commit to being the best version of yourself, yet you want to surpass others. Even if I have cultivated for 1,000 years, I dare not easily compare myself with others. Your idea is truly ridiculous. However, All of this is just a man's fantasy. Men with social anxiety didn't even realize that the person had actually left long ago. The embarrassed man touched his mask and pretended that nothing had happened. However, after watching the big show, Yelta ruthlessly exposed the man. A moment later, the man finally dealt with the bear's body. He was about to leave with the spoils when he was stopped by the arriving officer. The officer chattered incomprehensibly, not knowing what to make of the situation. In short, he hopes the man can download a military app. This way, the man can constantly grasp the specific locations where monsters appear, so he can provide timely and effective help for them. And not until the man walked away did the new recruit on the side ask the old soldier in confusion. "Why did you let him go? We should have forced him to cooperate with us. Is he stupid? Can someone who kills a second-rank monster with 3 strikes listen to us? In another world, I have seen a person who can command an entire country and knows monsters with just one glance. And I have a hunch that this man will definitely become stronger and stronger. If we keep trying to control him blindly, it will definitely backfire. Nowadays, it's not the same world as before. All governments and armies could potentially collapse because of one person." This surprises the new soldiers. He was just surprised by how suddenly his master became so smart. However, he is indeed very clever. Even Yelta has indicated that he made the most correct choice, choosing to maintain a friendly relationship with men at all times, instead of forcing cooperation with men. Otherwise, with the current strength of men, they can easily defeat all armies. However, it seems that men don't know how valuable they are in this world. He only cares about how to become stronger. But perhaps it is because the experience required for his unique class upgrades has also increased. The next 3 battles only brought the man a level 1 upgrade. But on the flip side, the man exchanged the remains of these monsters for a considerable amount of cash. But just as the man was starting to imagine how to spend his windfall, Yelta poured a bucket of cold water. "If you use this money, your identity will be exposed. But I can erase their memory." It turned out to be a false alarm, which led the man to keep boasting about the alluring windfalls, fearing that they might not be spent. The next morning, the man was abruptly awakened by unexpected news, instantly dispelling his drowsiness. The passage cut off from another world had surprisingly reconnected. This meant that humans could once again be transported to another world. And he was 99% certain that he would once again be the one overlooked. "Oh my! Am I going to live alone again?" A man cannot figure it out no matter how hard he tries. Yelta has been secretly contacting another world all along. Dealing with the powerful monsters accidentally produced by the Earth is too troublesome.